it's Sheep Fragger here with my very first podcast. Episode 1, and we are going to kick it off with a bit of a touchy subject. I know this can be very sensitive for different types of people, but we're going to get into it anyway and start as we need to go on. Just something to start. So this podcast is going to be all things gaming. All the random things that come into my head, but I think a lot of people will be thinking about my future games, the games that I'm looking forward to. May let you know a few games that you don't know are coming out. We'll speak about a few different things that are going on in the gaming industry at large. Some reviews, some new game releases and launches that we can talk about and stuff like that. I'm going to try and be as consistent as I possibly can with this, but I'm not going to release content just for the sake of releasing it on the podcast. I want it to be, things that matter and things that are relevant and things that are important and no filler. So it might not be a consistent thing that I do every week or so on, but I'll definitely try and do as much as I can with the schedule that I have. If you don't currently, you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/sheepfragger. I also have a YouTube channel on youtube.com/@sheepfraggerofficial where you can find me. As I said, this podcast is going to be about gaming. It's not going to be a political podcast whatsoever, but this episode has a slight political twinge to it, so I'm apologising. But the episode is about why I'm not buying FIFA 24, aka EAFC 24, and this will be the very first time I haven't brought a FIFA game since 1998. Okay, I was 6 in 1998, so I won't buy them for myself until I was older. But the very first time I won't have quote unquote brought one. Just to start it off, I think politics should not be in gaming whatsoever. And literally say, Sheep, this was a gaming podcast. You said it's not going to be political, but like I said, this one's probably going to be the most sort of political one I do. So, and I'm starting off on the wrong foot, so I do apologise. But I very much think politics should be out of gaming as much as possible. It's gaming is a refuge for a lot of people. It's something that we enjoy, and where political agendas and things have taken over essentially every other space in entertainment, films, TV, and things like that, I do feel like gaming is the very last refuge that people have to be able to express themselves, and on a larger scale, not be judged for it as much as they are in films, because it's films and TV are all sort of performing arts, and performing arts people tend to be quite liberal and quite woke, and I'm slowly seeing sort of that wokeness bleed into games, and we'll get into that in a bit more. So, but first and foremost, I think gaming should be about fundamentally making the best possible game you can make, the best story you can make, and all of that other stuff needs to take a step back because it's completely unnecessary. And obviously this is about FIFA, so we will get there in the end. So just to take a step back, let's speak about EA for a second. So EA as a company employ some of the most rigorous and in-depth analytics you could possibly imagine. I have a background in, high-level digital marketing and email automation and stuff like that. So, I deal with analytics on a daily basis. And, the stuff that I deal with is not remotely as advanced as EA do. Let's say, oh, you do an advert, you can see how much of a video someone watched, and if they watched over a certain portion, you could remarket to them, because that is an indicator that they're very interested in the product, whatever they're selling. That's a very simple example. But EA as a company, their whole way they make games, pretty much every decision they make is driven by extreme analytics on a large scale of the tens of millions of people that play their games, and it's all geared to make them more money. That is exactly why Ultimate Team makes billions every year from FIFA. I'm sure it does the same for Madden, and the other franchises. The NHL franchise, I'm not familiar with it because it's not big in England, but I'm sure it's exactly the same across the board. Not only do they do sort of extreme analytics for your screen time, exactly how many hours you play, how many cards you buy, the type of card you like, the amount of time you stay on a specific screen before you buy FIFA points, and some extreme ones that I couldn't even think about. And they also hire psychologists that will dictate how the animations are for opening packs and stuff like that, to give people the biggest dopamine hits possible, so they keep buying more and more money, and keep not buying more money, keep spending more and more money, just to eke out as much pennies from every single person they possibly can. And one of the reasons I'm not buying this FIFA is because the decision they made in this FIFA, as much of a analytical company EAI in making as much money as possible, the decision that they made is completely not analytical. It's not based on analytics. It's 100% based on a political agenda, which I'm going to show sort of in the next coming minutes. And because it's based on a political agenda, I don't particularly want to contribute to it. So we get in there. So the reason why I don't want to buy this FIFA is because, well, it's not because, let me be careful how I word this, because it can sound slightly sexist, and it's not sexist in the slightest. But the reason I'm not buying FIFA is the inclusion of women in the Ultimate Team, having the same stats as the male cards. It is essentially the reason why I'm not going to buy FIFA this year. Now, it is not a sexist viewpoint at all, and I'll explain why. And it's not actually the inclusion of women in Ultimate Team is what I have an issue with. It's the reason behind it. And as I said, the reason behind it isn't because it's something that players want. It's completely and utterly based on a political agenda, a woke agenda, and it's not something that I want to support in gaming. And I'll explain why a little bit later in this. But so as I said, EA are a company driven by analytics, and I've done some sort of research. And last year, EA included a female game mode where you can play as the female footballers. They didn't add all of them, but they added some of the top teams and top female footballers into the game, and you could play it. And now, out of last year, out of all the millions of people that play FIFA, only 2% of players played any of the female modes. So I'll repeat that. Only 2% of all of the people that played FIFA played the modes which had female footballers in them. Now, most companies would look at that and go, oh, okay, so the gamers aren't really interested in playing as the female footballers, so we won't put it in. But EA being EA, and EA being quite a fairly woke company, they didn't step back, and what they did, they doubled down, and they've put females in Ultimate Team purely based on agenda, because as I said, only 2% of people actually played the female version, female game was last FIFA. So it's completely based on a political agenda. And not only that, even if this was about a political agenda, and they wouldn't actually have as much of an issue with that, But the specific reason why I also have an issue with it is not only have they added women to Ultimate Team, they've given them stats which are exactly the same level as men, which is absolutely outrageous. So you could take the strongest male player in the game. Let's say he has a physical of 95. That's his physical stat. The strongest female player in the game, let's say, for argument's sake, she could have a strongest physical of 96 based on the female game. But because both of these cards are in Ultimate Team, the female character will outmuscle the male character, and EA know this and they know what they're doing, and it's just another reason why it's completely based on a woke agenda rather than what people want. And as a company, EA have been massive letdowns in terms of gaming in the past few years. You look at something like Battlefield 22, the way that launched was an absolute disgrace. Countless other games they've launched in terrible states and not done nothing to improve them. You look at Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the launch that had with the predatory loot box system, which actually led to them losing the Star Wars franchise, because they were the only gaming company that were able to make Star Wars games. They really only made Battlefront as well. They could have done so much with it, but thankfully they have lost it. And now Ubisoft are making a Star Wars game. And if you haven't seen the trailer, it does look awesome. So maybe if EA focused on actually making good games rather than inserting, woke and political agendas into their games, maybe they wouldn't have so many frigging problems. I mean, this actually started back in Battlefield 1 when they had female soldiers from World War 1. And everyone sort of went, how are you putting female soldiers from World War One when you're trying to make a realistic World War One simulator? It's not necessarily a simulator, but you know what I mean. And the way EA reacted to that is to put all of the Twitter comments that people made about there shouldn't be women in a World War One shooter, and put it on a board at one of their meetings, and basically were laughing at all the gamers being look at what the plebs actually think. And it's almost like they can't understand actually it was just a realism issue and not remotely a sexist issue, because no one had any issue with the modern games when they have women characters in them. If you make a point of trying to make a game that's time period accurate and then do that because of an agenda, it has nothing to do with sexism. It has everything to do with the realism of the game. So yeah, if EA focused on making games rather than inserting, this type of agenda in the game, maybe they wouldn't have so many frigging issues when the game starts. But to give you an example, that's using the actual stats, Kylian Mbappe, one of the best players in the game, he is rated 91 and his physical rating is 76 in the game. One of the best female players in the game in Ultimate Team is Sam Kerr. And her stats are also 91, and her physical stats are 83. So if Sam Kerr and Kylian Mbappe have a shoulder barge off in the game, Sam Kerr's going to win. And I just look at that and think it's ridiculous. And pretty much all of the people that I've spoken to that do play Ultimate Team are like, yeah, I have no idea why they've done that. It's not something I want. But for other people, it's not enough to make them not want to buy the game, and that's absolutely fine. So just to give you some stats as well, just to see how ridiculous this is, the world record deadlift for a biological female is 290 kg, and the world record deadlift for males is 537 kilograms, so almost double. So when you're looking at the normal difference between men and women, I think according to the Science Daily magazine, male upper bodies on average have 75% more muscle and 90% more strength than females. That's a standard. When you're talking about peak athletes, the difference is quite staggering as well. So it's absolutely ridiculous that that they're both in the same game, both in the same Ultimate Team, and that the females can out shoulder barge the males. You know, if you look at the American women's football team that won the World Cup, they got beat by an under 15s male team, and an American male team at that, where the academy standards aren't going to be as high as, for example, Spain or England. And there's a video online of Wilfried Zaha. He essentially 1v11 the whole Crystal Palace female team, and they don't even get close to him. So it is pretty shocking, and I don't understand why they felt the need to do this. Now, it's all well and good moaning about something, but it's another thing to provide solutions. And I think a kind of even more proof that EA are doing this for an agenda. Something that would have made me okay with this is if they put the female cards in the game, but made their stats relative to the male game. So if they put the female cards in the game and made them silver cards, for those who don't know, you get different tiers of cards. There's bronze cards, which are the worst cards in the game. They have bad stats. You've got silver cards, which are slightly better, and you have gold cards, which are the best. And there's, special cards in that as well. And if they made them relative to the male game, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But obviously that would go against the agenda that EA want to push. So yeah, and as I said towards the start, and this probably is the main reason why I don't want to buy FIFA, and it's a much broader issue in games than just FIFA. And as I said, politics in games is not good for everyday consumers, and it seems to be seeping in more and more as the years go on. And if you go back, as I mentioned, the Battlefield 1 with and them laughing at people saying, they didn't want the female World War One soldiers in the game. If you look at Mass Effect Andromeda and how terrible that game was, and it was, very extremely woke. I mean, they've even gone to make, female characters look uglier, to sort of appease that, and Fable have done the same, despite the woman that's doing the motion capture for the game being attractive. It's an absolute decision that's on purpose. And this happened, I don't know if anyone remembers it, about 10 years ago. There was a big thing that happened in gaming, which was called Gamergate, where the games companies were trying to put a lot of these woke ideology and a lot of this woke agenda in games, and people who weren't around gaming were essentially saying, "Oh, these people are rejecting this, these ideologies. All of these gamers are, words that are probably, I don't know the podcast rules at the moment, so I don't want to say these trigger words, but you'll all know the type of words I mean. Phobic, this, sexist." And it was just like, no, we actually just want to play games. And I think enough gamers banded together to completely reject it and said, no, we're none of these things. We just don't want these things injected in our games. We just want to play good games. And we managed to beat them back, because it was like a big concerted effort to put all these things in the game in one hit. So it was like one day games were normal, the next day everyone went, right, we're going to put all these things in the game. And because they were very obvious, and it was like a conceited, did I say conceited? I mean concerted effort to change how games were being made and the agendas that were put in them. The issue now, and what worries me, is I'm noticing that instead of what happened with the Gamergate and people pushing all this stuff into games at once, what I'm noticing is, every so often a little bit gets added into games a bit more. It gets a little bit more of the woke agenda put in. A couple of percent more here, a couple of percent more there, and rather than do it in a big way, it's like it's chipping away at the games, and you're seeing 1% added, 1% added, 1% added, and after a certain point, Games are not going to look and be like they were before when we all enjoyed them. And that's the thing that's scary, is because it's very much going under the radar. And I don't know, you know, I just thought of an analogy from Fast and the Furious, of all films. I can't remember which specific Fast and the Furious it was, like what number it is, but it's the one where they pull the safe around Brazil. I really enjoyed that film, by the way. And the evil man from the film, the bad dude, he actually did a perfect analogy for this. And he was like, you know, when Portugal wanted to invade Brazil, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is the gist of it. When Portugal wanted to invade Brazil, they didn't pull up in boats and swords and guns. I don't know how long ago we're talking, but swords and whatever, and take it by force, which is what people tried to do with Gamergate previously. Instead, what they did, they pulled up slowly. They offered them gifts of coffee and you know, gold and other things, and slowly but surely, over enough time, that gold and gifts that they were given turned into Portugal taking over, you know, 1% at a time, a little by little at a time. And, you know, if you fast forward enough times, now Brazil are the only Portuguese-speaking South American country, and you've got Portuguese artifacts all around, you know, the country. And I think that's very much what's going on now, is that rather than doing something big like they did in Gamergate, we're getting chipped away. We're getting these little percentage here and there where people don't really notice. And ultimately, if we leave it and don't do anything about it, and enough time goes by, I think games will be ruined. And as I said, it's the very, very last refuge that we have to be ourselves and not have to worry about that. And I don't want to see that go away, because it's something I'm very passionate about. And, you know, I don't like going to the cinema anymore, because this agenda's taken that, and cinemas are expensive, you know. You pay for your ticket, you spend like 50 quid on the food and tickets for, you know, an hour and a half, and you go into the film, and the film's just, you know, an hour and a half of men ain't shit or something like that. Do you know what I mean? I'm just like, I don't want to come in and pay this much money to be lectured to. Or, you know, you watch something like Noah, the film Noah, about obviously the Noah story in the Bible. Instead of being the original story from the Bible where it was all our sins, what it ended up being was the reason why God put down the flood is because of prehistoric fracking. And I'm just like, come on. So this is the type of stuff that you know, is driven me away from films. And it does the same for gaming. And to sum it all up, I've learned recently, in the past 5 or 6 years, that beyond well, the only vote that you have, really, and the most important and powerful vote that you have, is the vote with your wallet. And what I mean by that is what you choose to buy and what you choose to not to buy. You know, and let's say everyone or a lot of people don't like the fact that Amazon don't pay any tax. If people stopped buying from Amazon and said, you know what, we're not buying from you anymore because you don't pay tax, they'd lose so much money off the stock exchange that within 10 minutes they'd pay off all of their tax and promise to pay their tax. I'm not saying that is going to happen. I'm not saying enough people will do that, but it's just an analogy to say, you know, that is the way you get things done. And voting with your wallet is the most, you know, is the most important vote. If people that don't want this attached to games and attached to games in such a ridiculous way like FIFA have done, if everyone said, no, we're not buying this game, or we're not playing Ultimate Team, or we're not spending any money on FIFA points, and FIFA didn't make the 2 billion that they normally make from FIFA and made a fraction of that, next FIFA you wouldn't see any of this stuff in it, or they'd put it in which in a way which makes sense. And that ultimately is why I will not be buying FIFA. Moving forward, I would definitely think about if you want to contribute to certain things. Now, I would never tell people what to think. I would never tell people what to buy and what not to buy. This is solely my opinion. And as I said, I've spoken to a lot of people that do play FIFA consistently, and all of them pretty much have said, I think it's ridiculous that they have the same stats as the men. But, what are you going to do? And, that is more than fair enough. If this isn't something that puts you off buying FIFA, or you love FIFA so much that it is irrelevant, or you just don't care and just want to, you think, why are you even complaining? It's a game. That's absolutely fine. It is very much each to their own. I'm not telling anyone what to think and how to think, and I hope everyone enjoys it. Now, the only way you will see me play FIFA is if I am playing pro clubs. That will be the only type of FIFA I'll play this year, and probably moving forward. And I won't be buying the game, but I'll definitely probably use my free trial, and yeah, that's what I'll be doing. And like I said, I do apologize. This was a little bit more political than I want to get onto a gaming podcast, but it's absolutely something that I felt passionate about enough to actually be the first episode of the podcast. What I will say is, as much as I say I don't want politics in games, and my stream isn't political at all. We make jokes about everyone and everything. I've never shied away from speaking about politics on stream, and I know people say politics don't belong in streams either, and absolutely I agree with you. In a way, it's not something that I go out to say, and we rarely speak about it. But I also think one of the problems in society at large at the moment is the fact that we cannot have discourse with people that we agree with in any way, shape, or form that doesn't turn into a shouting match, a screaming match, and somehow your character is questioned because you have these views versus other views. And I think that's a very big problem in the world. So if people do bring things up that I disagree with or agree with, whatever, I will never stop people from saying it, because I believe that everyone should be able to express their opinions, and without fear of being shouted down and stuff, and people can have actual debates about things that they disagree with. And if I didn't allow people to do that on stream, or didn't do that myself on stream, I'd feel like I was part of the problem rather than part of the solution of improving that. So that is what I'll say. So yeah, I think that is about it for the first episode of the podcast. As I said, the rest will not be as politically charged as this. But yeah, I hope you found it interesting, even if you don't disagree with me. Even if you do disagree with me, sorry. I hope you found it interesting to listen to, and I would be interested to see what people think in the comments below, whatever streaming platform you are listening to. And if you think I'm an idiot, that's absolutely, I will not be offended. Like I said, each to their own. So yeah, I think moving forward, I think the next things I'm gonna cover on the podcast is, the pros and cons of access journalism, i.e., we're gonna invite you to this gaming event, so you can stream it or capture footage of this game early. A lot of the time, that results in let's say less than honest reporting, because people want to get invited back next time because there's a financial incentive. So that'll be the next thing probably, and then the episode after that, I think I'll be doing an episode on what I'd like to see from Warzone 3. So that'll be an actual proper gaming talk. Yeah, I want to keep these quite short, so sometimes they may only be 10-15 minutes long, not even that. And yeah, so I appreciate you listening. And just a quick one as well. From when I started streaming, people who've been watching my stream from the start will know that I said this from the beginning. When I wanted to start streaming, I didn't just have the idea to stream. what I wanted to do eventually is to have a whole media company around gaming. So reviews, wikis for big games, a podcast, all different types of things to cover all bases in gaming, because it's one of my big passions. And this is kind of the first step towards that, even all being an inconsistent and not well thought out step because I've just turned it on and pressed record. But yeah, hopefully as the stream grows and things like that, I can get better quality equipment, so the sound will be a lot better and other stuff. So I do apologize if the microphone isn't the best. And yeah, if you have made it up to this point, you're a legend. Thank you very much. And if you aren't currently following me on Twitch, you can follow me at twitch.tv/sheepfragger and youtube.com/@sheepfraggerofficial. And we have TikToks and all of the other stuff that are all linked in the description of this video. So yeah, thank you for listening, and I will catch you next time. Peace.